Brewtallyspeaking podcast is proudly sponsored by Rockabilia.com. For over 30 years, Rockabilia has been the go-to destination for all things band merch. With over 500,000 items in their online store and collaborations with today's hottest bands, you're sure to find something you love. Use our code BREW10 at checkout and take 10% off your total order. So go pick up your favorite new piece of merch now over at Rockabilia.com. Now, on to the show.
Say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing. This rings true because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, and if you're not having fun doing it, you're gonna give up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Brewtallyspeaking podcast. I am your host, John, and this episode's guest is Nathanael of Archers. And I'm not saying this to be disparaging, this may be a band that you are not aware of. And honestly, until my wife put their music in front of me a handful of months ago, I wasn't either. And it seems like the band has really been taking off on social media. I believe even being on Octane, if memory serves me correctly. But definitely is also a band name that I have been seeing a little bit from them playing with the Hollow Front dudes, also doing some stuff with A Virtue over the years. So obviously have seen the name around a little bit. I just didn't know much about them. And you know, I've heard my wife play some music and so forth, and we were going to Detroit on like a little weekend getaway, going to see Thursday, Many Eyes, and Rival Schools. And then we went to a Pistons game, and then went to go see Archers play at the Sanctuary. And it was one of those things where, as you'll kind of hear me almost immediately talk out the gate, but I kind of want to expound upon it a little bit more, is just this. I was surprised to see a line out the door, first and foremost, when we got there. Even when I went to go see 18 Visions at the same venue, it wasn't like that. The thing, though, honestly, that, and I still think about this, and I still talk about this with people, having been going to shows quite a bit in the last couple of months, but just how many young people were at this show, first and foremost, was crazy, because I feel like outside of like certain bands that I go see, I don't really see a lot of a younger crowd coming to a show. Like, that 17, 18, 19, 20, maybe 21, 22-ish kind of crowd. Like typically at some of these shows, I think maybe that just speaks more to me as the demographic, not making it out to some of these up-and-coming bands as much as maybe a more established band that's bringing up-and-coming bands out with them. But it was wild. Just seeing from the jump how excited the whole venue was, the whole crowd was for this show. And from opening band of Nerve all the way through to Archers, it was just something that really, really stuck with me. I would like to think that there is plenty of this same thing happening everywhere else and with a lot of other package tours. But I think for me, the hard thing is like, even going back to when I was booking shows, I can't tell you how many tours like this I would get that needed to come through on a Tuesday that wanted, $1,800 for a 5-band package tour. And it was full of bands like no one knew. And it's like, that's already a hard sell, even if there was a good band on it that some people knew with a bunch of others that don't. It's just the touring industry, and you don't always want to guarantee more than you're willing to potentially lose. But it was a thing where seeing just the support for these 3 young bands all touring together, and from, like I said, from the jump, no one left for any one band. There wasn't a mass exodus. Like, everyone was there for every band and singing along to all the songs. And it just was really, really cool to see that. As I get older and, approaching 40 and just being a jaded music fan, heavy metal, hard rock, whatever, just a fan of music, it's kind of refreshing sometimes to be reminded of, seeing yourself in some of these young kids smiling, going to see music with some of their best friends and getting to start making memories, going to live shows and so forth. And, it's great to see. So with all that said, let's get into my conversation with Nathaniel. I think it's Nathaniel. It's the AEL at the end of Nathan, that because it's not usually how I'm used to seeing Nathaniel. So if I'm mispronouncing it, I'm sorry, dude. I don't know if you prefer Nathan either. As someone who is a Jonathan and goes by John, I totally understand why I don't want my whole name being used. But that said, let's get into my conversation, and I will talk to you on the other side of it. No. Well, you know, I it could be way worse. I could call the cops on you guys because my girlfriend wasn't able to get up to the front row of your show.
Yeah, there's that.
I heard about that,
huh?
I heard it. Yeah, I heard about that at the Detroit date. I think it had happened to you the night before, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it was in. Where were we? I'm so bad at remembering days after they happened. But yeah, we were. We had a nice, solid show. Tons of people showing up, and then suddenly there were police there, and they were telling people that they had to get out. So they kicked everybody out of the venue, and then they started letting everyone back in, but they stopped at 117, even though the cap was clearly larger because the room wasn't even half full at that point. So there had been some mix-up with the city for what their cap was. So there was that, along with the apparent story that some girlfriend of some person was there, upset they couldn't get to the front because it was packed, as good shows do. So yeah, they just decided that they were better than everyone else, and they decided to ruin it for over 100 people. But we did our best. We ended up jamming some acoustic songs terribly, but we jammed them. It was a lot of fun. It ended up becoming a very wholesome moment. So, I mean, I'm not going to complain. I feel bad for the people who came to see a full production and didn't get to, of course.
Right.
But, because a lot of people just left. A lot of people were like, oh, well, screw this. I'm not sticking around. And I get that. That's 100% understandable. Yeah, that sucks. You weren't into the show. But then, probably 50, 60 people stuck around and just waited in the parking lot while we figured out where to find an acoustic guitar last minute. And, yeah, that was a first for me.
Sure. I think it almost kind of speaks, and maybe you're seeing this from the other side of the touring world or shows in general, but I feel like there just has become this sense of entitlement of concert goers, where it's if I my space is my space, and I totally understand that. I'm not begrudging someone who doesn't want to be touched and all that kind of stuff. But I have noticed, by and large, probably over the last, I'll say 10 years, that it seems to have gotten progressively worse, where people feel that when they're there, that is their space, and it doesn't matter if a mosh pit's happening or anything else, that if you come into contact with them in their little 4-foot bubble, all hell breaks loose, because it's this is my spot. And it's
yeah.
No, it's not. We are a communal amoeba, basically, one organism that shares one space collectively to share this this one thing that we all came here for. But I feel like it's just gotten so much worse, where people kind of have this entitlement now when they go to shows.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my take on that would be there for sure must be some sort of small change, but I think the change has happened less in people and more in the accessibility of content and the creators that make it. So for instance, the people that used to come to shows 5, 6, 10 years ago, they were the adamant fans, the ones that were going to go to the show, didn't care if they got knocked around. Nowadays, especially since COVID, it's easier to get your hands on music from under smaller artists, and it's easier to develop a relationship with these people. And it's easier for people who would be generally more introverted to find music they really like and maybe venture out to a show. So what we see at our show is a lot of first-time concert goers, which is strange because, it seems like everyone's been doing this for so long, that how is there still a first-time concert goer? But we end up seeing a lot of those at our shows, and those tend to be the types of people who just, it's not that they're wrong. They just don't get it. You know, they've never had that experience. But there also is this new dynamic where, especially as a smaller group, we are really engaging with our fans. You know, we love to talk with them and hang out with them at shows. But as things ramp up, there is a natural, you know, step back that groups have to take, because I can't talk to 150 people a night. I just can't. You know, like, I got to sing shows every single day. I'm shouting over house music, you know, trying to sell my merch. And, like, you know, so eventually I have to take a step back and be like, okay, I got to go away and be quiet, put myself on vocalist, it was a hard thing for me to accept when things started kind of popping off a little bit for us, because I was like, I really like the fans. I like doing this, but ultimately it just ended up that I was hurting myself, because I would be playing the show, doing the thing, hanging out, and then you get these entitled people who seem to think that because they've come to 5 or 10 shows that they're now your personal best friends. And, like, I love that. I love the relationships, but there is that sense of, like, oh, we're besties now. It's like, no, I don't text you when I'm not feeling great. You know, like, I see you once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year when I come to your city, and I'm stoked to be there. I'm thrilled to be there, you know. But there is a small subset of people with a very unhealthy mindset and a very unhealthy attachment to their content creators. Like, right. Especially with my bassist, Oscar, who has a fairly large TikTok platform. We see that day in and day out. And we also see the exact opposite of it. We see very supportive fans, very protective fans, really nurturing and loving people. But then there's also the other side of the coin, where it's the individuals who just, like, you know, maybe they're on the spectrum a little bit. Maybe they're not, some part of their psyche is not 100% developed, or they're young, you know, and they don't know how to act. There's lots of reasons why people could be this way. But, like, I try not to judge. It's just in dealing with it in the moment, it generally all looks the same. Because, you know, to us, you know, being just dudes who have all the same issues that everybody else does, it's just, it can become almost, like, emotionally taxing, you know, to do that kind of thing, if that makes any sense.
No, it does, and you actually just kind of hit on something that was a talking point between my wife, our friend Dale, which I think you guys know Dale, is a venue
big guy?
Yard. Yeah.
Yeah, Dale makes great barbecue and cookies.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, he makes great food. Him and his wife met us, my wife and I, at the show, and it was funny because Dale and I were talking about how our wives wanted to go to the show, and so we're like, all right, here we are. Like, you know, they go to all these shows that maybe they don't want to be at, so, like, why not be excited that they just want to go to shows with us in general and bring us along? But it was a thing where I was looking around, and I made a comment to my wife and Dale's wife, and I was like, there are a lot of women at this show, more than I would have expected, if I'm being completely honest. Yeah. And then they both just kind of lit up and they go, it's the bass player of Archers, and they basically were like showing me his TikTok, because I don't have TikTok, I don't really understand the platform. Right. And it was a thing where it just was really interesting to kind of see, you know, one person out of a collective, because when I think of a band, I mean, yes, you might gravitate toward one member over the other, because if you're a musician, you might be like, okay, I'm paying attention to the guitar player, I'm paying attention to the band, or whatever. So, I mean, I know it naturally happens that would gravitate toward a person in a band, but to see that at to just see how that's something new, because, like, it's not something I feel like we have really seen up until the last handful of years, where the band and a person within the band could kind of become bigger than the band itself. And I was just like, that's really interesting to see how maybe it's bringing in a completely different demographic of people that maybe otherwise wouldn't have come to your shows. I don't know, but it's to literally see it firsthand like that. It just was really interesting to kind of see how the industry has really changed in that capacity. And the other thing I noticed and that I wanted to say was actually twofold. I was really amazed that, you know, I'm going to call the tour you guys are on currently, from my perspective, a bunch of up-and-coming bands. You know, I know that your band has been around, I think, since 2015, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, generally, about 2015.
Okay. So almost 10 years now, so it's not like you're a new band. But
we're not new, but we're finally, like, we've known it for 10 years, but maybe, like, 2 or 3 years somewhat successfully. So it's like, we're still an up-and-comer for sure. Yeah,
but to see the level of engagement and excitement straight out the gate from first band all the way to you guys was insane. Like, I haven't seen something like that in I don't know. I was trying to rack my brain even back when I was coming to see local bands and bands of a certain size like that playing, 400 or 500 cap rooms. And I don't remember there being that same level of like, we're fucking stoked to be here for every band. We're here for every band. We're singing along. And then the other thing, and I remember I was just having a conversation with Ken Susi of Esley Dining about this the other day, about how good everyone sounds, like just the gear that everyone has now to where you can put on a show with production and it sounds really great, just like anybody else you'd see at a bigger level venue and all that kind of stuff. It just kind of really put it in perspective for me that it's like it has become, for those that want it, I should say, that it has become a very leveling playing field now where it's not like, okay, you see that first band and you're like, okay, this band's not quite there. They may not make it beyond this tour. Okay, here's the band that's been around, been touring a while. Here's the next band. Obviously, this is why they're the headliners. The gap of quality is kind of shrinking, so you don't see that as much anymore. And it was just kind of all put together in front of me that one night. I just had all these epiphanies watching you guys.
Yeah, this tour, it's in and of itself. It definitely has felt like, and even the last tour we went on, but I'd say more so this one. It definitely feels like there's something special going on. We've got Nerve and Savage Hands and us all together on a bill, and we mesh so well together, not just as music artists, but as people. Like, I've never had more hangs and more better vibes on a tour than I currently am having. And, like, the thing is, not to besmirch any other tours, I always have fun on the road. I love being on the road. But, like, normally it's like, generally it's like you're really tight. If you go on a 3-band package, you're like, you got 2 bands that are really, really close, and then everybody's cool with the 3rd band. It's like there's just always a little bit of buddy somewhere. It just happens. It's just nature. But this is the first time I've been out on the road where literally every single group is all just commingling and we're just supporting each other, like not only musically but as people. It's actually been a very emotional tour, and I'm not going to get into all the specifics. There's been certain things that have happened that have, taken an emotional toll on us and other members of the tour. But we've all been there for each other in every step of the way. Me, Mikey, and Dylan, the 3 vocalists, like it's just all love between us. And it's like going day to day, everyone's got banger tunes. Everyone's got professionalism out the wahoo, and we've all just, come together as a group knowing like, hey, we're here to put on a show and build a production and then, do the thing. And there's no bad blood. There's no, pettiness. It's all great. And it's been super cool. To speak to like the TikTok thing that you had mentioned in the beginning, like that was something that was very different to us. Like, especially in metalcore, like the metalcore community, having a demographic of more females than males is generally a unicorn. It's not unheard of entirely, but generally speaking, dudes like metalcore more than, like when you go to shows, the numbers say dudes like metalcore more than girls. I disagree with those statistics, but that's what the numbers like to say. So like having so for us having a larger female demographic is really interesting to us as well, because obviously we have that little bit of foundation from Oscar's TikTok. And in the beginning, when COVID was going on, that was a big force for us, like really pushing that online stuff. I like to think that now it definitely has kind of tapered, a little bit. Originally it started where like we would go on tour and like there would be 30 people in front of Oscar and then nobody in front of Ben and I. And then as soon as he would have a singing part, you'd see like 30 cell phones all like in front of his face. It was funny. It was, no bad blood at all. It was funny. But like now that, that's kind of passed. We kind of had a little bit of separation of Archers and Aronkai. We kind of like have tried to like weasel that in and make a little bit of a not separate, but it's like they're 2 different entities, and we push it that way now. And I think it definitely has helped to like balance the tides a little bit. So like you definitely see the TikTokers and the thirsty people that are just trying to do their thing. But like you also see just as many that number ends up being dwarfed by the people who are just there because they found this guy on TikTok and they really liked his band's music, so it's a perfectly viable funnel, but it's not the only one that we have, you know what I mean? But it definitely started that way. We had our own core fans for a long time because we hammered out small Midwest runs for years. But then, as soon as we started traveling out to like the West Coast and the East Coast and down south, like that really helped because they were actually people at our shows, and it helped to build a little bit of hype. And now it's a lot more natural. It's a lot more even. We've got the TikTokers. We've got the people who just really like the music. We've got the Louder Than Life crew now. Everyone who's seen us in all these different places, either online or organically, So it's all kind of finally coming together in this one big resurgence, and I mean, we're just kind of here for the ride at this point.
Well, it's kind of funny because as I sort of was, like I said, mentioning that I was talking to Ken about this the other day, he was kind of making, because Ken, obviously having been playing in shows and touring in a professional band for 20-something years at this point, and more behind-the-scenes stuff as well, it's like, he has more of an understanding, so when he talks, I'll kind of listen because I'm like, all right, like, I think this is interesting. Is this really is this what touring musicians have to be? Is this does a band have to rely on these gimmicks of sorts? And he kind of was saying that, I think to a certain level, it is sort of the shift that the industry has taken, where it's like maybe a label might be like, well, we'd like you all to collectively, or someone in the band to have a little bit of an online following to help push albums and these, like you were saying, funneling to different channels to find and throw out your net as far as it can be. Mm-hmm. But he was like, at the end of the day, if the songs suck and the music's not great and the band's terrible live, it doesn't matter how many followers you have. And so he, it was interesting that we were kind of coming to the conclusion that it still comes down to the song and the band. And it's like, if you suck and you don't bring it live, no one's going to care. Because worst case, now all those TikTok followers are going to post how awful you are live. And then that'll just tank you before you get anywhere anyway. So it was just a really interesting kind of thing to see. And like I was kind of saying to my wife and Dale and everyone, it's like, it's kind of, doing this for, 7 years now, having a lot of friends in different facets of the touring industry, and even playing in a crappy band myself for like a little while and then booking shows for a couple of years, I have absolutely just ruined going to shows for me, because all I do is think about all these things. I'm looking at all these things, and it's like, I know my mind doesn't work the same way when I go to shows as it does for most people, and I kind of miss being able to just enjoy a show. And that was the thing. I did have fun at the show. I enjoyed the show. But I'm looking at all these things going like I said, all the gear, all the things, and just taking it all in.
It's much more technical. You're approaching it from the mindset of someone with experience, not the mindset of someone looking to be entertained. And like, I'm the same way with the music I listen to these days. Like, I actually, for a long time now, have kind of taken a step back from listening to music, because I oftentimes find myself listening to my music with a comparative context. Where like, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I could do that. I like that. I could maybe use that. Or like, oh, that's a neat idea. I want to kind of fiddle with that thing. Instead of just sitting back and enjoying the music for what it is, it's meant for me to elicit some sort of emotion in me. And like, it's really hard for me now to like sit down and pull up a record and just to sit there and listen to. I listen to books these days. That's what I listen to. If you ask me what my top 10 hits were, I'd say Lord of the Rings. So like
Chapter 17's a fucking banger, man. I can't tell
Yeah, dude. Oh my god. Like, don't get me started on Theoden in the Plainer, man. That's like, that track rips. Like, no. Honestly, like, my Spotify Wrapped is all just Audible, So, and I do listen to music. Most of the time, it's to check out groups that I think are cool or up and coming, or like maybe it'd be neat to tour with them, or I really like, But generally, I find that when I'm listening to music, it's very much, I'm always approaching it from the context of an artist and like trying to create, instead of like the context of a consumer trying to experience. And I feel like a lot of people end up in that same boat. We get burnt out on the things that we do, and that's why I kind of took a step back from music, because I was like, I love the music I make. The music that my band makes will always be some of my favorite music. That's why I make it, because I think it's awesome. I think it sounds super cool. And if a lot of times, if I'm too focused on other music, and like, I won't have as much fun in the studio writing. You know what I mean? So like, I think one of the ways that I stay fresh, and I know this is different for the other guys in the group, is one of the ways I stay fresh is have that little bit of distance between myself and music, generally speaking. Because like, I am the worst consumer. I'm not going to follow your band on Twitter. I'm not going to check out your TikToks. I probably don't know the name of your band, even though I've heard your song 18 times, because I just, I'm the worst consumer, so I always cater to people that are like me. So if I can find a way to, if there's something that gets my interest, I generally expect that it'll get somebody else's too, because I'm the worst. Right.
Yeah, no, it's funny, you kind of mentioned, and you're really one of the first that's kind of said this on the show out loud, but like, I was talking about how for a while doing this podcast made me hate listening to music, because I was like, I have to listen to this thing to find something that I'm hoping will be a completely different avenue of questions and a line of questions than anyone else that's going to be doing a press junket. So we're like, someone will be like, that's really, like, I haven't been asked that. Thank you. Like, and it just made me hate listening to music. And then it's like, when you're just consuming it for that reason, and a lot of times too, like, I would get, as I do, and I'm thankful that everyone sends me all these albums and stuff like that, but it's like, I joke now, it's like, as soon as I see some emails and it's like a 17 adjective descriptor of what this band is, I'm out. I shouldn't need all of that. I shouldn't need it. Like, I don't care that you're the best Amish grindcore band from the like Swedish Netherlands or something. All these things that don't go together. I don't care. Like,
same.
And so it just became this thing where I had to kind of find my why again. Kind of fall in love. And at the end of the day, like, you kind of stumbled upon it earlier when we were messaging, like, do you have questions you want me to, like, prepare for? And that was a thing that I realized I also was preparing for questions with someone who I've never talked to, typically, and I would have a whole conversation written out, and I wouldn't allow for anything to happen because it wasn't in my little square box of what I wanted. And I found this to be way more enjoyable by just letting it be. And I feel like that's kind of where art thrives the most, is when you just let it be what it's supposed to be versus trying to force something.
I agree, 100%. Yeah.
Do you feel so? I guess, I mean, you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but like that books and reading and kind of those things are more of what you find to find interesting versus listening to music to kind of get yourself out of it. But have you found that since you've now have kind of given yourself a little bit of a reprieve from just listening to music all the time, have you found that you're able to kind of enjoy music again?
100%. Yeah, actually. I definitely don't approach listening to music like I used to when I was younger, for sure. When I was younger, and I still am very lyric focused and melody focused. Nowadays, like, I put on a song and I try not to pay super close attention to it. It's like, I'm not picking it apart. If I put on a song, it's mostly because I just want some background noise or something like that. But then what happens is I'll be listening and something will just catch my ear. And I'll be like, that's cool. All right, neat. And then I'll replay that song a couple of times and be like, wow, I actually really enjoyed that. And then that's when I go down the rabbit hole. I'm like, wow, this band made a song that, like, kind of turned my head a little bit, because we've all heard millions of songs, like hearing something, what is it, like, there's like 7 notes, like 7 scales, how many, whatever, like, and then in between there's but there's a limited amount of things that can be done, at least in the popular spectrum. Like, you can, make your avant-garde whatever, and like, but like, as far as like making something for the purposes of distribution, there is a very specific, formula-ish, but there's many of them. So, like, finding something for me that just, like, sits well within the formula and still finds a way to, like, shine on top of it all. I really like that. It doesn't need to be something crazy. Maybe it's just like, oh, wow, that guy's register was higher than I thought it was at the beginning of the song. That was cool. Like, sometimes I like it when a singer, like, just whips out something you weren't expecting. Like, oh, they did the whole song down the octave, and now we got a weird bridge and it's up the octave. Oh, that's neat. That's cool. I wasn't expecting that. But, I just, I do find myself when I listen to music more purposefully now. So, like, if I'm going to listen to music, it's definitely something I, like, think about. Because my knee-jerk reaction is, I'm just going to go turn on this book that I've listened to 18 times because I'm a freaking nerd. But, like, sometimes I'm like, you know what? I don't really want to just listen to words. I kind of want to hear I want to jam. I just want to, like, chill and hear some cool melodies. And at that point, I'll just, like, throw on a playlist that I know has got some tried and true stuff and just go to town. And occasionally I do like to find newer bands. I tend to find newer bands because my guys in my group, like will show me stuff, and I'll be like, oh wow, that's kind of neat. I like this. I'm not a searcher, you know. I'm the type, if you put a YouTube search bar in front of me, I turn blank. I'm like, I've never heard a song in my entire life. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. You know, so I don't even, like, I'm not a searcher. I just, like, I stumble across things. I don't even like being recommended music. This is the weirdest thing. I don't like being recommended music. Like, if somebody tells me to listen to this song, that's not going to happen. Like, you send me an album, I will never open it. Because I'm like, I don't know. I don't trust your music taste. I'm super weird. Like, so I just, like, for me, it's like, it has to be like, I only really, really like a thing generally if I discover it myself. And like, maybe I'll end up finding that album that somebody sent me years younger, and I'll be like, oh wow, and they'll be like, yeah, I told you. Like, I wouldn't have liked it then because you sent it. Like, I'm not saying this is rational. This is just me.
Yeah. I think that, I feel like that's sort of the thing. Like, I've also been going through, like, I remember getting into Alexis on Fire like really late, and then I was like, man, this Crisis record's really awesome, and everyone's like, yeah, where the fuck have you been? It's been out for a while. I'm like, sorry, man, I don't know, like, I feel like there just becomes this sort of like expectation that it's like, and I just kind of went through it recently. A friend of mine was like, man, I know you like some really like ignorant music, and he was like, check this band out, they're called LLNN, and I was like, okay, and I was kind of like hesitant. I was like, because like, if I don't like it, and the dude's like, what'd you think? I'm like, it was all right. And then it's like, it makes me feel bad, like I'm shitting on your thing that brings you joy. And so I listened to it, and it was interesting because, like, as you and I have just kind of been saying the last like 10 minutes or so, I loved the record, and I've shared it with a handful of people now where I'm like, man, I really think you should check out this record. But I'm really careful of who I'm showing it to. Because the other part of this thing that makes this record so incredible to me is it's very cinematic. Like, it's not I listen to, like, yo, track 4, that's the song. It's like, no, you put this on and you give it the respect that it deserves to, like, listen to the whole thing. And it feels very cinematic and like it should be a soundtrack to, like, a sci-fi horror movie or, like, an apocalyptic type thing. And the other thing I've really been kind of getting into lately, like, not in a depressive way, but I was saying to some people recently, I was like, you know, some of the records I'm gravitating a lot more toward lately are just like, you just gotta wallow in it, like just the set, like just whatever it's doing to you, you just gotta sit in it and let it happen. And
I agree.
There was a thing kind of as I've been saying that where I'm like, yeah, it's angry, it's aggressive, it's sad, it's all these things, and I think too often we're just so quick to not want to feel those things. And that a lot of the music I've realized I'm gravitating toward is like almost like a 30-minute meditative experience where you're just like, okay, this is really, really aggressive and it's depressing and it's dark. But man, when I'm done, I feel like something happened and it's out of me now. And like, it's not a record I'm going to listen to for the next like 4 hours. I might listen to it every day, but when I'm done with that one little sampling of it, I'm like, okay, now I need something else to kind of cleanse the palate. And I feel like that's kind of this thing as I've been rediscovering, getting back into love with music again. That's been something I've really been enjoying, is kind of letting the music kind of do what it's going to do to me, and not like going in with like I'm listening to this again.
Yeah. No, I definitely get that. It's music is such a unique beast. You know, there'll be weird times where like I won't realize the vibe of a song I'm listening to because it just something about it just kind of hits me. I remember one time in particular I was listening to this song and it was making my brain go burr. So I was just like replaying this song, and I was just really vibing with it. But I wasn't really paying attention to what the song was about. I was just really into it. And so at one point I shared the song off to my buddy, and I was like, yo, I am loving this song right now. I cannot stop listening to it. It's great. And he hits me back and like, are you good, man? Like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, what do you mean? He's like, dude, this song is really depressing. I was like, oh, I didn't even, like, oh, okay. I guess. Yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm doing great. But, you know, so like, one of the artists that I really, really like right now that I have been listening to is Billie Eilish, which may sound strange coming from, I don't really listen to much metal. Like, I do like metal. I don't seek it out very often. There's a lot of it, and I tour with metal bands, like, generally,
Right.
so I hear a lot of metal, and I actually like it better live. Generally, it hits more live for me. Music,
Absolutely.
I feel like does that, but so for me, when I'm listening to stuff, I've been really getting into Billie Eilish. She's got some of these really, really sad, morose songs, and for some reason that just speaks to me. Even though the lyrics, I'm not a teenage girl, I can't 100% connect with it ultimately all the time, but like, it's just, I don't know. I love the melancholiness of it, and I like it just kind of draws me in. And then when I tell people, they're like, "You good?" No, I'm fine. Just,
Yeah.
being myself.
Well, I think and that's, I mean, kind of like I was telling, as I just was at like a grind show the other day, like a more extreme metal thing, was seeing some friends. And it was funny because we were all kind of talking about how like my friend Fox, that's the singer of this band, like in the promo photos, have like a Portishead shirt on, or things like that. And I go, dude, like right now I am living for SiriusXM has a channel that's all like 90s and 2000s R&B and hip hop, and that usually, like when I go into work, that's at least the first 2 to 3 hours of my day is just listening to that. And I'm like it was really, because it came on this morning, and I just thought of it again. But, there's this band this group Color Me Bad, and they had this song, like, I Want to Sex You Up. And as I get older, I'm like, man, they have this, like, kind of what I'll call, like, a swirling, like, vocal melody in the thing that starts off, like, their chorus. And I'm like, the rest of this song kind of sucks, but, man, that vocal melody, oh, it's worth the price of admission alone. Like, it's so good. And getting into, like, a lot of these things, what I find interesting, being into so many different types of music and stuff like that, is I love when you are able to then notice those weird influences from another artist in metal or extreme things, where they're just like, yeah, man, I heard this like melody, or heard this thing, and I was like, that's kind of cool. What if I did that? Or whatever. So to me, as much shit as I usually get sometimes for being someone who's into hip hop and pop and all these other things, where people are like, do you even like metal? And it's like, I do, but man, there's so much more out there that's more rewarding to bring into that than at that point.
I personally do not understand the plight of the metal music purist. I don't get it. Metal is a blank slate. Literally, like, every metal band has a different twist that mixes different genres. Like, you wouldn't have metal if it weren't for R&B or rap or rock or some of these things. Like, all the screaming stuff. Like, that's all rap influence. That's all old R&B like influences. That, like, it's all about cadence and timing. Just like rap, crazy. It's like R&B and funk and soul. All of these things came together with angst and made metal. Like, people act like metal is like this some overarching, you gotta be metal, bro. It's like, you don't even obviously know what that means. Like, I had a guy at a show the other day who came out, and like, we are not the heaviest band, okay, by any stretch of the imagination. So like, we come out, we play our few songs, and some of our stuff has some heavy stuff. And like, after the show, I'm having a loadout, and this dude comes up to me, he's like, yeah, man, I had such a great time just moshing and beating people up. It's so great, but I'm sorry nobody else did it. And I was like, man, people enjoy music differently. And he's like, yeah, but like, metal for beating people up. And I was like, I really think it's not. I think it's just for people to enjoy listening to it, actually. And he got really upset with me because he was expecting me to be like on his vibe, like, yeah, let's assault people and cause violence. Yeah, this is great. So like, not our vibe, not our thing. But I was like, wrong audience. Thanks for coming, but like, don't hurt my fans.
Yeah, I think a lot of that, like, I actually just was watching a guy at this show who was like kind of off in his own little world doing, like, at one point I think, and I couldn't, and this is like the horrible thing where I'm like, is this dude on drugs or like what? And then I was like, had a thought to myself where I go, maybe this dude's just like so free and comfortable with how he presents himself at a show. Like, that's just his vibe. But like, at one point, I swear, he was pretending like, and no one had phones out. That was the weirder part. Like, he was pretending to go up and like if he had a phone in his hand, like, to video the band, and then was turning it around at him and like reacting. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? But then he'd also like sort of go around moshing people, but not really. Like, I don't know. He was just like on his own trip, and I was like, this looks like what drugs do to people. But
live your best life, man.
Yeah, but I was like, man, I don't know. And then, like I said, I had just this thought of like, maybe you're just so comfortable and free in your own space and in this environment that this is what you just do when you're feeling it. But like, man, it's weird.
And I've actually met people like that where you're like, this dude's on some shit, and he's just turns out to be this guy just doing his thing, and you're like, all right, I guess I learned not to judge today. Like, you know, and some people are weird, man. People, there is no normal. It's what I've learned. Like, I haven't learned much in my very short amount of time on this earth, but like, what I have learned is that there is no such thing as normal, and like, everybody's fucking weird. Excuse my language. Everybody's crazy. You know, everyone's got their shit to deal with, and none of us know what the hell we're doing. We're all swinging it, you know, and like, I've been that weirdo too. Like, I am very comfortable with myself. Like, if ask any of these guys on the tour, like, I'm not like, oh yeah, let's be dudes and whatnot. But like, you know, I'll get changed in front of people. I will say the thing that's on my mind without hesitation, generally speaking, regardless of who it upsets. You know, so like, I get it. It's like, be the most unadulterated, unapologetic version of yourself. I support that 100%. Don't be a dick. You know, try not to hurt other people. Do your best not to steal shit. Like, there's no rules here. It's just other people trying to get by and like being kind of nicer. Because like, I'm the same way. I got a little bit of Karen energy in me sometimes. I know that about myself. Ask any of my bandmates. But like, you know, it's don't make your shit someone else's problem. You know what I mean? That's all. It's, you know, it's so easy to not be an asshole.
Yeah.
It's super easy. Like, it's great. Try it sometime, you know. It's I don't know. Some people just really get hung up on the idea that they think that their experience is the only experience that could possibly be experienced in all of experience, you know. And it's just like, no, you're a single organism, and everyone else is having the exact same thing that you're dealing with right now. Right. So, you know, be conscientious. It's not that hard.
So kind of a different line of thought and questions that I've kind of been thinking about the last little bit. You know, I had said, you know, that you guys have been a band for almost 10 years now, and obviously the pandemic, you know, took a couple years away from everybody in a touring capacity. But something I always kind of find interesting, because the touring industry is sort of one of the only avenues a lot of people make money anymore, but it's also probably the most oversaturated it's been at this point, just because of everyone getting back to it. How do you guys navigate when to kind of really hit it? Because I feel like you're at a point where it's like, now is where you kind of throw all the gas onto the fire and really just hit it hard. But how do you do that and not burn yourself out in the process as well? Like, how are you navigating that?
When I figure that out, I will let you know. But I guess to that point, so yeah, we have been doing this for a while, but we absolutely love it. But it is hard, you know. Being on the road is difficult. It takes a lot out of you. I guess. I feel like I'm brain farting on the question. Give me one more time. But,
so basically, just how do you know internally when to kind of really hit it, full cylinders, firing on all cylinders, take all the tours that are being offered to you, so on and so forth, versus also realizing that maybe doing one less tour, even though it may sound like it's going to really do something for your career or whatever, but you're just
we're actually we're in that boat right at this exact second as we're speaking. We're currently throwing so we came out of 2020 or not 2020. We came out of COVID guns blazing. You know, we hit the road as soon as it was legally able. Like, we were doing social distance tours. Like, that's how quickly we hit the road. You know, and you're right. There is you do have to be. Like, sometimes you have to be selective, and sometimes you have to take what there is. You know, we're at a unique position where we've started this upward trend of things going kind of well for us. So like, we're at this position where we're getting some offers that are kind of cool. We're saying no to lots of things. You know, we like saying no, but we also like being busy. You know, we've got a couple offers on the table that we're just like, they're good offers. Like it's not a bad thing. It's not like the money would be there, the shows would be good, like the fans would enjoy themselves. But like it's just we're running into this. We keep running into this wall of like it's just not what we want right now. There's I'm not going to say any names, but there's this group out there that they sent us an offer, and we're like, this is a really great offer, but like this isn't our brand. This isn't like because we haven't done a big support slot at this point in our careers yet. Like all the stuff that you see us doing is 100% because we went out and did it ourselves. Nobody gave us any opening slots on cool shows in our area. Nobody's given us any great support slots for larger bands. These just never happened for us. So like we just did it ourselves. And so all the following that we made, that's our audience. It's not like we piggybacked off somebody else's tour and sniped a few of theirs along the way. No, we built it ourselves. And so we're kind of in this point where we're like, this is ours. Like if we're gonna do something cool, we've already built this brand. We already have this foundation. If we're gonna do the first big cool tour, it's not gonna. It has to be. We have to be respectful to the people that came before, and not just like go out with any band. Even if it would be a good thing. So like that's where we're at right now. Just like trying to. I think we're probably going to just keep saying no until the right offer comes along because, we like being on the road. I personally love being on the road. It's my favorite thing to do. It's work. Trust me. I've worked more in the last 2 weeks than I have in years. It's been insane, but I still love it. And when the time comes that the right offer, it's so quick. But right now it's like. We want to make sure that we are honoring the people that came before, and that we're honoring our what we want too. Like we're paying attention to if I go on a bill with a band or with another band, I want to make sure that everyone is just as hyped to see me as they are to see the other group and the other groups. It's like whoever's on that tour. Like some of the offers that we're getting now, I wouldn't even be thrilled to watch them play. And it's not. That's my taste. That's just my taste. It's not. To say anything with anyone else. It's just that we built our fan base to the point where we know who our fans are. We know generally what they're into, what they like, and what they'd like to see, and we'd like to give them that. And that exists. It's out there. And so right now we're having this interesting back and forth between all of us where it's like, yeah, well, we want to be on the road, okay, but we want to be on the right road, doing the right thing. So we have this really cool uptick that we're experiencing, and we want to capitalize on it just like everyone else would. But we don't want to jump the gun too early because potentially, the offer that we have right now could be a bad offer in 6 months, depending on how our growth goes. Because right now we're on an uptick. We've been putting out a few songs. Our monthly listeners are just increasing over time, and they always wane. If things wax and wane, they get bigger, they grow. But we have this trend of for every dip there's a bigger spike. And I personally believe that if we just have a bit of patience and wait for the right thing to come through, it is not going to be of any detriment to us because the offers that we're seeing now versus the offers that we could be seeing in 6 months could be wildly different. And it's it just has to do with patience. And so my vote will always be the slow and steady growth because that's how we got here. Archers got here because we were patient and we built it slowly and meticulously and pieced all these little markets together and did this by ourselves. We have a team that we work with. We've got producers. We work with a writer. We work with a booking agent. We got a lawyer. So we've got a team that work with us. But it's it's not like anyone telling us what to do. It's us telling them what to do. So it's it's ours at this point. And I just don't want to give that up just yet. I want to make sure that we have the autonomy to do the things that we want because the four of us in this group are incredibly passionate about these things. We get in discussions daily about what's the right move? Is this what we should be doing? Even for the most minute, seemingly unimportant things, but that's just how we operate, so there are offers on the table and we want to be on the road. And I personally believe that by June, we'll probably be on the road through the rest of the year. But we're just trying to find the right offer and we're trying to find the right thing. And if that means that we got to go out again on our own and do our own headliner or maybe a co-headliner with a band similar to our size and not go with the larger group that doesn't fit with our brand, then so be it. We'll do that. But like, I think I just find it really important to consider that aspect of things. A lot of people don't think that's important. I've heard it from professionals. I've heard it from people in the audience that just like, oh, we don't care who you go out with. It's like, well, there's a lot of people that do, and I specifically also do. It matters to me, like who we affiliate with, like what sort of music like we jump on board with. It's like I want to create an experience. Like if you come to one of my shows, regardless of where I am in the lineup, I want you to have a blast. I want you to buy everybody's merch. I want you to meet all these cool new friends I have. And if I'm not vibing, then I don't think anyone else is going to be vibing, even though that's a really obtuse mindset. It's like I understand everyone has different experiences, but that's just where my head goes, and that's kind of where that's where I mean. Yes, that was a lot of words.
No worries. It's interesting too. I think that when talking about how you talk about your band, it sounds to me very much how I feel about like Shark Tank, where it's like you'll see some people and they know they're not willing to give away too much of their equity. They don't want all these things or their product or whatever to be diluted or turned into something that they don't want it to be. But then you also see the people who come in and all they want is the deal. And sometimes they will do the thing that compromises everything they've been working for because I got the deal and I did the thing. And I feel so much of the music industry, especially in the scene, this scene that we're predominantly in, I feel like so many people are just like, I don't know if it's validation, getting on those big look tours. There's a band famously that by all accounts is a big band now, but I constantly talk about it's like they've done 4 or 5 really big look tours, and then when they came back and played the same 400 cap room, they couldn't even fill half of it. Meanwhile, another band that's in their same boat that I think has done things a little bit more planned out with a little bit more integrity to who they are at their core, they have reached this massive level to where when they came back and played that exact same room, sold it out in like 4 minutes and have continued to do bigger things. And it becomes this thing where it's like they exist in the exact same world, but you can see example A and example B of how one went about it and the other one went about it. And I feel like the one band that's having what I would say is more success and more earned success did it their own way and didn't compromise themselves along the way.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of that, like, there's different ways to approach getting what you want out of the music industry. Like, if your goal in life is to play shows and meet cool people, like, yeah, take as many offers as you can. Do the thing. Like, I personally believe that groundwork matters, and I think that playing to your audience is more important than playing to any audience, And I think that if you're gonna jump on a big tour, you should try to like make it to be something where it's like, what, I think this person's fans would actually vibe with my music, and I want to offer it to them. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go and play in front of this big crowd so I can get it for the picture. It's like, so I can, like, who's really like who's having more fun, the guy on Facebook or the guy who doesn't post because he's too fucking busy? Like enjoying the life. Like I'm. Of them, I don't even like taking pictures. I'm in this weird. I have this weird mindset where like everything that happens in my experience is mine. Like I don't take photos because like it's not gonna look as cool. I can't share that with somebody else. Like that moment that I had, that was for me. And I feel like I try to make moments for the people that come out to our shows. Like I said earlier, we never got like the offers to go on bigger support slots. We never got like the large regional shows in our area. They always went to other people, and we didn't really mind, because at the end of the day, we were playing to people who actually wanted to be there to see us. And like that, I've had people singing to my songs for the last 10 years. Obviously, there's a lot more people doing it now, but like I could be a no-name band on a big show, and no one's gonna give a shit. Or I could be, the top name on a bar bill, and people will come out and they'll get fucked up and they'll have a blast because it's a party, dude. Like, I don't know. Like, there's so many different ways to go about this, and none of them are the wrong way. Okay, there are wrong ways, but like none of them necessarily are like, you can't just be like, oh, you did it this way, so that's wrong because I did it this way. It's like people are different. Do what you want. Try to get what you want out of it. But for me, as an individual, what I want out of music and what I want out of just being in a band is to write music that will stand the test of time and stick with people, and something that someone can connect to, and not just the cool thing with the cool lick and the cool melody and the hot singer. Like that's all has its place. It all has its place. Like there even within these genres of music that we're out with, you see different personality types. Like you see some groups who are like the drug, sex, rock and roll type people, and like that's fine too. If you're just trying to nut and bust and like have a good time, more power to you. Just as long as you got the consent of the people you're doing it with. Don't care. And IDs, 10 fucking IDs. But like, just because like there's too much negativity and grossness in the metalcore community as there is. So like I just want to be a positive influence. That's all I care about. It's like I just want to do things positively and make a positive impact and show people that like this can be done. You don't have to be an asshole. You can be the guy. Like most of us in our group, we're not tough guys. We're not we're not into like getting fucked up. We want to like hang out and pet the cats we meet on the side of the road and like eat Taco Bell and find really spicy things to mess with our throats. Like I don't know. Like and like there's so many different reasons to get into doing this. Just find what yours is and do it. It's like you don't have to look at every other band and be like, oh, well, they're doing this, so I think we should do that. There's rules. There's kind of rules. But there's a game to be played. Like be yourself and like stick to what's important, because like that's what people see. If people see genuine, like people understand genuine. You know what I mean? It comes across in what you do, and I feel like that's helped us a lot because we simply love this. Like there is no doubt about it in anyone's mind. If you watch Archers play, that they're just having the best time of their life right now, and this is great, And like you see other bands and they're very they're very captive, very specific. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do this emotion. They're doing this thing, and like that's fine too. Like, but I personally feel that the genuineness of your performance and the genuineness of just your actions speak so much louder than the words you're saying or the things you're doing, like, just in general.
I think the thing watching you guys that kind of was interesting to me was that it felt like there was sort of a representation of so many different people that can go to the show. Like something I thought was really interesting to me as a person who wears glasses and plays guitar and enjoys going to shows like that. You're a guitar player wearing the like strap so his glasses don't fall off. And I was like, I don't see that really much outside of sports and certain players wearing them, but like that to me was really interesting and something that there's just kind of not necessarily the nicest way to say this without feeling like I'm poking at it, but it's like the thing to me that I thought was really interesting and I think is going to probably draw so many people to the band is I'm sure from a label perspective people would probably be like, your singer's really great, but he doesn't have the look that is aesthetically pleasing to sell albums, and girls aren't gonna want it. Basically, no offense, but it's like I get it, man. Your singer's not the fuckable guy, and it's like yeah, but you don't have to try to fuck everyone in a band. Like that's not always the aesthetic that everyone wants.
Yeah,
like,
I'm up there wearing suspenders underneath my shirt to make sure my pants don't fall down because the belt's stuck. Like,
but you know what? Like, that's real to me as an adult who's getting older, and I'm like, yeah, my I can't wear skinny jeans anymore, and sometimes like I have to I have to change how I look, and it's like that's more relatable to me. And like I said, just see like your guitar player wearing straps around his glasses, and I'm like, that shit. Maybe I should get a pair of those so I can do the same, or someone like
are so just wildly uninterested in girls on the road that it wouldn't matter even if they saw. Like we are so far. Like who's got the time, man? When I wake up in the morning, I am going from the instant I wake up. I'm the night driver, so I normally wake up the latest, and I just immediately I wake up. It's like, oh, we're at a gas station. You do your thing, eat some food, get to the venue, load in, sound check, do all my vocal prep warm-ups, and then like I'm on the stage, off the stage, sell merch for an hour, pack up my shit, load in, drive. where do you people find the time to get all these STDs? Like, seriously, how does, like, I throw my hands up, like, more power to it. If you guys can, like, I know what we smell like, okay? So, like, I don't know, like, it boggles my mind that these, like, seemingly normal, very attractive young women will come out to shows and, like, be jamming up with these dudes who I know have the thickest toe jam you've ever seen right now. Like, my goodness, have some respect for yourself. Like, we're disgusting. You don't need that. Oh my God. That's horrifying. Like, we played a show the other day, and we've actually been lucky. We've been able to shower most days. We get Planet Fitness almost every day.
There you go.
The other day, I didn't get a shower, and I forgot to put deodorant on before the show. And I'm, like, halfway through the set, and I'm just like, oh, man. And, like, people are, like, jumping on, like, you know, they're jumping, they're, like, trying to high-five me, you know, and stuff. And I'm like, this is great, but don't you smell me? Like, excuse you. So, like, I just don't know where people find the time or, like, the wherewithal to handle, like, I don't know, like, just even the thought of, like, oh, yeah, man, girls right now. Doesn't that sound great? I haven't showered in 6 days. And my dick probably smells like a fucking, you know, it probably smells like one of those Slim Jims. It looks like it's been sitting out in the 7-Eleven for 8 weeks. You know, it's like, you don't want this. I don't want this. No.
I could see the tagline on a shirt already. Having sex is cool, but have you ever actually had to get enough money so you can eat later?
Right.
The time I'm spending doing that is money that I'm not making, so I can eat
Absolutely,
later.
100%. Or it's work that I'm not doing that somebody else has to do, and that's just irresponsible. Right. When we go out right now, we don't have crew. I guess it makes more sense for people that have drivers. They've got crew. All you gotta do is walk on stage and do their thing. Okay, I can see how there'd be more time, but like, I know bands that are in the same boat as we are. I know them personally that have this mentality of like going out and having the fun. I'm just like, where do you find the time? And really the reality is it's like they free up that time by not doing things that they should be doing, you know? And it's like your band is experiencing a detriment because you can't regulate your horniness. And like you think, like I said, if that's why you're in this, okay, I'm not going to judge you. Do the thing. Enjoy it. Like, have fun. Like, do the thing. But, like, if you're here trying to make a name for yourself and you're out there fucking around and being disgusting, getting wasted every night, and then you're like, why is things not happening for me? I go out. It's like, it's because you're not focused. You're not focused. Your mind is all over the place. Like, I'm not much for faith going on, but there's a verse that says a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. And that basically just goes to say that, like, if you keep splitting your focus in a million different ways, things are going to suffer. It is just factual, you know. Like, so if you decide that merch takes a back seat to getting laid, then you're not going to sell as much merch. If you decide that loading your trailer takes a back seat to doing some drugs, then you might get in an accident because your trailer is weighted wrong and you're fishtailing and you smack a semi or something. This is a real. I mean, these are not hypotheticals. These are situations that have happened. You know what I mean? And so it's like, this is all real. And it's so easy to screw up, you know? Yeah. Even as a good band that does the right things, it's so easy to, like, make mistakes on the road. And, like, if you're not focused, that could break a band. I know plenty of bands that, like, lack focus or have led to calamities that destroyed their groups, you know? And it's just sad because it's like you see talented people trying to do the thing, and then they just shoot themselves in the foot every step of the way. And I'm not saying that we've got it right. All I'm saying is that we make sure it is something that the four of us make sure that we know about each other, is that this is what we're doing. This is what we want to do. We're going to act a certain way. We're going to present ourselves a certain way. We're going to be professional. We're going to show up on time as often as possible, unless, like, divine intervention strikes, you know, like, and it's like it's weird sometimes to see how that mindset is. I thought that that's how everyone felt, you know, because like you go into this, like, obviously everyone wants to be famous, everyone wants to get the metalcore money and whatnot, but like, it's like they're not doing even the most basic things just to like,
Right.
just to stay focused. And it's like, I get it. You want to have fun. Tour's fun. And if like that's your dating pool, then okay, sure. But like, just be realistic with yourself about what you're trying to do and what can be done. And like, I don't know, try to be less of a piece of shit when it comes to girls and stuff. I don't know. I get so upset with the people that like. There's a lot of people that bring down the reputation of singers and artists, and it freaks me out. It means that like I get nervous when kids come to my shows, because I'm just like, what, I think it's the coolest thing when a little kid comes to your show and they're wearing your shirt and they pick up the drumstick and they want it signed. Oh my God, this is so great. But then there's that dark, nasty side of things that always comes up, and you're just like, okay, I need to be careful around this kid, because like someone could like take something out. It's like things could just happen, like someone could take a thing out of context, or like, there's shitty people in this world, you know what I mean? And they just like want to fuck with you, and like, if you give them any ammo, and you gotta be like, okay, like, I want to take a picture with this little kid. Is that I shouldn't be thinking in that moment, like, is somebody gonna do something heinous or nasty to make this look bad? I should be thinking, oh my God, this kid is 8 years old. He's coming to his first rock show. This is so exciting. That's what I want to be thinking about. But then there's always the little voice in the back of your head. It's like, it's like, check yourself. And like, I hate that. I hate that it's there. I hate that it's a stigma that we have to deal with. And it's only because people suck. Like, if these things didn't happen, that wouldn't exist. It's like, there are so many people that bring down the reputation of musicians and artists. It's like, it's almost like you have to try to be positive, because it's almost like, I didn't think that being positive was a brand, but apparently it is. It's like, it's like, I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling at this point, just saying a bunch of nonsense. But
Well, I think like, and that was my thing, is like, watching all of you guys and kind of being like, I feel like anyone coming to this show can see themselves in any one of the four of you. And then to me, that was interesting, because like I said, there's so often like, like, you could look at someone like, I know Tyler has actually, from Hollowfront, him and I have kind of talked about this, where it's like, there were times where he's like, people call me fat. I'm the fat little guy that sings for Hollowfront, or whatever, or like even the things that Dakota went through when he was still in the band, and his journey to weight loss and all that kind of stuff. That it's just this thing that I think, because the industry is based on looks and selling a thing, that to me, I feel like it, for a while, I feel like it has become just such an overwhelmingly huge part of a thing that doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, it's like, the music is what should matter, nothing else. But to me, I often wonder, do you guys collectively, have people coming up to you going like, oh, like making maybe that comment, like, I feel like I could see myself doing this because, you're doing it, and it kind of has given me permission to pursue it.
There's been once or twice. Like, I've been really lucky, man. For all the 10 years, 15 years that I've been doing music, making music, the only person who's put me down for my weight has been me. Generally speaking, I got really lucky. Most people, like, by the time they hear me sing, they're just like, all right, fuck it. What do you think? Which is not a bragger, but it's like, I have this interesting talent that a lot of people have, and I use it. And so, like, I have never been, I always expect it for some reason. I've always expected people to be like, nah, like, but it's never happened. And like, I'm always like prepared for it. Like, oh, I'm gonna fight for myself. It's like, oh wait, no one actually gives a shit. And like, but there has been a few times. The only times it's ever been mentioned, only times it's ever been even brought up in my weight in context of the band stuff, has been positive things, like bigger dudes or bigger girls coming up to me and be like, this has only happened like once or twice, be like, seeing you up there doing your thing, living your best life, not giving a shit what anybody thinks, like, that means a lot to me. And I'm like, oh, right, I forgot, I'm fat. Like, like, in my head, I'm way sexy, let me tell you. And I just don't look in mirrors, and it doesn't ruin the illusion. So, like, that way I can, like, get up on stage and do my thing without, I'm at the point in my life where I'm very comfortable with the way I look. I don't need anyone to care or like it. I like to sing. I like to dance on stage. I like to move around. Like, I'm not a very expressive person outside of music. Like, I experience a lot of things like anger and pain, and I feel like joy and things like that. But generally, I'm a more stoic, unless I'm having fun. Unless you get me out of my shell and I'm laughing, I'm an idiot. There's that. But generally, like, pretty composed, pretty down to earth. But like my outlet is that stage. That's when I get to go up there, shake my booty around a little bit, have some fun, and like do my thing. And like I don't give a fuck what any of y'all think. As far as like how I look, like I get mine just fine without any. I don't mean nothing. I'm doing great. And the thing is too, like apparently, and I didn't know about this until like a couple years ago, but apparently there's a daddy phase going around, and people are really into the whole like dad bods and things. So that's been great for me, So I've been, but I'm very much not on the market, very much not interested in anything like that. So it's pretty much the same for all of us, except for Grayson, who's just I don't know, pretty sure he's yeah. So the girl's thing, looking a certain way, it's like. I don't care. I like to look clean. I like to look presentable. I like to look as in fashion as a big dude can look without being ridiculous, And I do all right. I'm happy with my life. My main focus is just being healthy. Like if I don't lose the weight, I'm never going to get it. But I just want to make sure I live past 35, don't have a heart attack by the time I'm 40. So there are things that I'm trying to change about my life. Not necessarily lose weight, but just be healthier. And like have a more resilient body that can wake up every morning and do the thing that I love to do. You know what I mean? That's all I care about. And like I had a bit of like over the years I've had different experiences where it's like almost scares. Like there was one time we went on like a few years back where I was having such bad knee pain I couldn't stand, and I couldn't like step up into the van because like I'm a big guy, my joints hurt. So I had to like be like, oh, well, if you want to do this, you have to work out a little bit. So I got to the gym, I strengthened my knees up a little bit, just like paid more attention to my body. And then recently I had a bit of a heart health scare, and I was like, fuck, I've been eating fast food for most of my meals for 10 years. Okay, so I'm changing that. So it's slowly but surely I'm making changes to my life just to make sure that I can do this when I'm, in my up there in years. Because like I don't see archers as a flash in the pan, and that's the thing that I'm so trying not to make happen, Like, I personally believe that archers could stand the test of time if given the chance and the opportunities to do so, and I want to make sure that I can stand up to that test of time just as well as the band can. Because if I get to the age 40 and I can't go on tour, that is a failure in my mind, Like, the only things that I'll ever beat myself up about is my lack of self-control. Like I wrote songs like "Bitter," which is explicitly it's a fuck you to the fact that I smoke cigarettes. It's like
that line stood out to me, and I was like, "That's interesting."
This one particular thing is what could potentially destroy my whole career if I don't get my shit together and just quit. It's like, and if you listen to a lot of my songs, or a lot of the lyrics that are not my songs, my lyrics, you'll hear me shining a light on like the nasty parts of me. Because like that's what I find the most interesting. That's what I find the most relatable. I don't love you. I just miss your body. It's like I'm not that great. I'm being honest about like what I'm feeling, and like I feel like a lot of people don't. A lot of people do talk about that kind of stuff. But I like to talk about it in a way that shines this light on the negative sides of just being human. And I feel like that's where I get the most out of like inspiration for the things that I write about. Like trying to find, the way to highlight the negative in a way that doesn't glorify it. And, to be like, hey, these are negative things and they're negative. They're not like, it's not negative, so think better of me. It's like a lot of people like, they like to generate clout by like, oh, look at all these horrible things I did. I did way worse shit than you. And it's like, is this a competition? You want to see who's worse? Like, okay. But like, for me, it's more like, these are the bad things I did and they were bad. Like, don't do these things, I don't know. I try not to, I leave lots of things open-ended because I have just as much questions as everyone else does. I don't have any answers. So, like, all of my songs, they don't end generally on a high resolve note. They're all just, like, questions at the end of them. So, yeah, I guess that kind of ties.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's sort of what Dale and I are doing right now with him, myself, and Tyler from Virtue. We're all in, like, a little like let's be healthier pact with each other. And Dale and I are actually going to, in the couple months, run a 5K locally here. And it's one where like he's been getting, but like Dale's been like kind of killing it lately on the like, all right, I'm going out and I'm working out, I'm doing stuff. And then like I went to the bar and got hammered with my friends because they're like kind of depressed right now, and I felt like that's where I was needed.
Sometimes you just gotta build a blanket for it, man.
Yeah. But it was a thing where it's been kind of nice. Like, and then, you know, like I'd lost like a bunch of weight and then gained most of it back. And then Tyler lost a bunch, and then he was like, I gained all my weight back. So it's like, but like the nice thing is like, you know, initially Dale had kind of put it into a thing where he wanted to have like a competition for all of us to like see who does whatever. And I was like, how about we just like be there for each other? It doesn't need to be a competition. Like, we can just do it and be supportive of one another, good, bad, or indifferent. And I think at the end of the day, that's sort of, I would say maybe like an overarching theme of this is just, you know, like we've been saying, don't be shitty and just try to always improve and be better day in and day out. And you'll be surprised at how far you go eventually when you look back.
I'm just surprised at how much just eating better has made me feel better. Like, you know, my big thing when I got my health thing is I hate working out. I go on tour and I play shows. I get about 30, 40 minutes of work out a day. I'm fine. You know, probably not. But like, for me, it was cutting out the fried foods, cutting out as much bread as possible and sugar and sweets and stuff, and like just eating as much raw foods as I possibly can, like, you know, whole grain rice, vegetables, trying to stick to like that. You know, that's what, like, and it's been hard, but I've been able to do it for the most part on tour as well, which has been incredible for me. I got to give it to my guys. We are all incredibly accommodating when it comes to like everyone's needs, and I really, really appreciate that about my crew and my bandmates. It's like when I remember I posted in the group chat, like, hey guys, I had this weird chest pain like a week ago, and it's making me want to change my diet. There was not anyone being like, oh man, I can't go to Taco Bell anymore. It was like, oh, okay, how do we do this? What do we got to do? Where do we got to go? What can we eat? You know, like, and I just like, I you know, it's great to have that. I really love my guys for that too. So it just goes to show what's going on behind the scenes here at Archers. It's like everyone here gives a shit. You know, yeah. We're all weird. We all like get, you know, things happen. You know, we butt heads. Like, no one's perfect, and like things do get heated. But at the end of the day, we all know that we're doing this for the same reasons, and that, like, you know, we want to succeed in this thing that we've started, and we built something really cool. And like, there's not a one of us who doesn't care about every little thing that we do. You know, that's why we fight about everything, because we're like, well, this letter should go a little left on this T-shirt. It's like, no, it should be in the center. Like, you know, it's like, guys, it doesn't matter, but it does. You know, so I'm glad we have that dynamic.
I think from my perspective, it's kind of what drew me right away. Something nice that, like I've said, that I noticed is there seems to be a lot of integrity and intention with everything that's being done, and that's something, you know, through my wife bringing your guys' music to my attention, and obviously taking me to see you guys about 2 weeks ago, as of now when we're chatting. It's a thing where I notice it, and then even now in this conversation you and I have had for about an hour, it's something that's very obvious, and I don't doubt that you guys are going to do whatever you set out to do, because I just don't see how it's already happening, and I think it'll just continue. As long as you collectively don't get in each other's ways to prevent it and deviate.
Yeah, really, like honestly, like when you get to this point, it really is the band that like is the make or break. It's not the fans, it's not the team. It's like, you know, there's a joke that goes around. It's like, oh, I seen a meme where it was just like, oh, you got a little bit of hype online. Oh, let's immediately become toxic. Like, you know, it's just like a lot of people end up ruining it. So yeah, so we're very focused, and like we're doing our best. I don't know.
Want to thank you for taking the time today. I know it's your off day and all that kind of stuff to chat, and especially so quickly after I kind of put out the bat signal to the internet to try to see if I can get you to do something, because I didn't want to take up. I was hungry. Dale and I and the wives went and got tacos at a little spot that we found the last time we went out to Sanctuary, and really, really great Mexican food. So I was like, I'm starving, and I don't feel like dealing with a bunch of kids trying to then plug my own thing, because I think that's fucking weird. To be like, hey, I know you don't know me, and I have a podcast. Doesn't everybody? But I'd like you to be on it. I've literally had someone do that, and then I watch kind of like oh great, and then somebody else will be like, what's the name? And I've literally watched like a dude behind the merch table like look it up and then be like, we should do this, which is fucking weird to see it in real time where you're just like, okay, I'm getting blown off. Oh, now you're looking at it. Now you think it's worth your time. Now all of a sudden everyone's interested. That's weird. Okay, now I don't know that I want to have you on because
I might have had the same. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Honestly, it was Tyler telling me to do it. Like that made me want to do it because like I trust Tyler. He's a really good friend of mine, and so he's like, he says, "This guy's good." I'm like, "Let's do it." Tyler knows his shit, so it's really great talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Where can everyone find you or anything you would like to plug online?
So you can find us anywhere you can literally type our name into Google and something will pop up. If you like us on Spotify, you can go there, Pandora, Xbox Music for some reason. Like
is that a thing?
Anywhere you listen to music, you can find us. We're probably the most active on Instagram, so hit us up at Archers US. Best way to like stay in contact about shows and stuff. We also have a Facebook group for superfans called the Archers Assembled Super Soft Posting Group, which is just something we made because like when we were kind of popping up online, like we wanted a place for everybody to hang out and we can kind of regulate because eventually some fans had made like a Discord and there was some weird shit in there. So we were like, okay, let's not hang out over there, let's hang out here, but we can make sure everybody's happy and safe. So like there's a really great, and it's actually super active. We have lots of people. I know it's a sidetrack, but like one of the coolest things that's happened for us since like the COVID thing was making this group because like now we have, not only do we have fans all over the country, but they're meeting each other in this group, and they're making like we'll get like 30 people at a show. We're like, oh yeah, we all got together from the group and decided to buy our tickets together and come to the show. And so like join that Facebook group because there's a lot of cool stuff that happens there. If you're in the group, you get like generally we announce our merch online first there, so like you can know about stuff like a day to 12 hours early. And it's a really good way to stay in contact and like know what's happening within the fans as well as like what they're really feeling. Who's going to be at shows, what, maybe make some friends if you're lonely. Other than that, we just dropped 2 new features for our songs Bitter and Say the Sober. Bitter is featuring Mikey G from Savage Hands, and Say the Sober is featuring Dylan from Nerve. Honestly, they killed it. It's so great. Go check it out. I can't really talk about some of the stuff we have coming up because it's a little bit hush-hush, but we have new stuff planned very soon. So once this cycle is up with these, you're going to be hearing some other stuff. And then as soon as that comes out, we got more news to tell everyone. So I'm just thrilled to be able to be where we are right now. Stoked that you had me on, man. Like this is a lot of fun. I like jawing as much as the next guy. So like you get me started, and I'm going to ramble, and half of my, all my shit's everywhere. So like sometimes I'll be talking about one thing and I'll be like, well, and actually about this. So sorry if I ramble. Like,
no, you're good. It's the whole point of the podcast. That's why, like I said, once I kind of, unregimented the show, I think it got a lot more interesting, and the conversations got a lot better because I had no idea where they were going. And I think it allows for people who are a fan of somebody to get to know more of them versus just like, oh, here's the band guy and he's talking about the band things, and now you know more of the band thing that you already knew.
But we're not that cool. Just come to a show, hang out, like, jam to some tunes, sit in the back of the corner and bob your head, get in the middle and mosh, jump up and down if you want to. You got bad knees, I got bad knees too. I don't want to mosh either. So come to a show. We've got a few more left on this run. When is this airing? When is this coming out?
Let me look at my hard drive. Because I usually do, because I used to do these in a different order than what I would do them in, and then I realized because I would reference something throughout, it just felt weird that I was not continuity. So as of now, I'm putting out. This will come out in. Let's see, Taproots this week, Darkest Hours next week. See next Tuesday. So 3 weeks.
Okay, so we'll be home by then. I'm sure I'll be home from tour by then. So we won't be on the road anymore when anyone's listening to this. But hopefully we'll see you anyway.
On the next tour.
Hopefully we have seen you by now.
There you go. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and hopefully see you guys back on the road soon enough.
Yeah, man. Awesome. This was fun.
Boom.
So that was my conversation with Nathanael of Archers. Hopefully you do take the time to go check out the band. I definitely think they are doing something that is very I'm not going to say it's unique, but I think it's authentically them. And I think that that's going to, and I think it is what is winning fans over who are seeing them, because it's, you know, the four dudes, they're putting their all into it, and it feels like something that they have to do. And it feels like their fans are really resonating with the music that is being made. So I think in a world, a music industry world that is full of people that are just looking to find the next trend, cash in on it, and get instant success and not put in the legwork, I think these guys are doing it as authentically and real as you possibly can in today's world. So kudos to these guys. And also, you know, I really love the fact that he wasn't afraid to kind of answer some of my maybe stupid harder questions. You know, it's because to me, and I kind of had said this in the chat, that it's like, you know, I remember talking with Ken from As Lay Dying, talking about Archers and how stoked I was to see, you know, the crowd and just how great every band sounds now. And, you know, like the story of their bass player having like all these followers on a social media platform. And it's interesting having that conversation with him where he's like, I mean, that's kind of where the industry is. And it's sort of like, you know, you at least need either the band account to be in, you know, the high hundreds of thousands or even millions before anyone even wants to look at you, invest in you, and all that kind of stuff. Because, I mean, as really stupid as it is to say, I mean, I think we have learned in the industry, everyone wants you once you've already proven that you can do something without them, and then everyone wants to take credit for what you do. But I think it's so crazy to think back, you know, like I said in the intro, thinking about going to shows with my friends and going to see these bands and discovering new bands and all this kind of stuff. You know, sometimes you would see a band and they didn't sound great, or, you know, you could just tell they didn't. I don't want to say they didn't have it, but there is a definite transition from a band that tours a lot and kind of takes that next step. And, you know, I've talked about it a lot with a band like Wilson, where it's like, I used to see them and it was you know, guys that put on a great show. They sounded great. They had a great front man, great songs that, you know, would get stuck in your head, and cool merch and all that kind of stuff. And then I remember they went on a couple of like regional tours, and then they started putting together a show that had, here's our definitive intro, and then we have stuff going on in between songs, but we try to, you know, make it a show from start to finish. And to me, I feel like that's something that the younger generation of bands has gotten. Like, we have the laptops, we can do backing tracks, we can do interludes and outros and all those kind of things to make the show feel like a show. And you don't, I feel like it just gives all bands such a leg up now to feel professional, maybe where bands of my era growing up didn't feel that way. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of thinking since going to this show, and I love that. I love kind of being challenged and going to see something that just sparks ideas and creativity and has me excited to go see the next young batch of bands and shows and so forth. And yeah, just really want to thank Nathanael for taking the time. And like I said, if they aren't touring right now, as you heard toward the end of our conversation, the tour is done. But if these guys end up coming around your way, definitely go see them. I did see they announced a date on the Capulet Fest. I believe that's happening in Connecticut. So if you're near the area, go check them out. Let them know that I sent you. Because, I don't know, I always think it'd be kind of interesting to see how many people actually get told, like, oh, I heard of your band, or, you know, whatever from this podcast that you did. So do that. Starting to wrap up the episode, though, if you would like to keep up with Archers, you can find them on Facebook at Archers Official, Instagram at Archers US, as well as Twitter at Archers US. Also, go check out their web store, archersmerch.com. All this is in the show notes. So if you didn't catch all of that, just literally look at what you're listening to this on, and it'll show you. You could also keep up with Nathanael at Goes By Nathanael on Instagram. Again, if I'm mispronouncing your name, I'm sorry, dude. I'm just trying the best I can. But yeah, and if you like keep up with the podcast, find us simple enough at BrewSpeakPod on all your major social media platforms. Rate, review, subscribe wherever you can. You know why that's important. And shout out to our sponsor, Rockabilia. They are doing crazy things over at their store. I know our code's still not working. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background. It is in the process of being taken care of, put it that way. But I do know if you're a first-time user, typically when you go onto the website, there is a pop-up ad for some sort of a discount. So even though you can't use mine, use that one. But still go and support the Rockabilia people. Head on over to rockabilia.com And I want to thank them so much. It's been a few years now of them being on the show as a podcast sponsor, and can't help but just be thankful for Frankie's friendship and everyone over at Rockabilia for everything they do for the show. And speaking of the show, that's it for this week's episode. Thanks for checking it out. Thanks for listening. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for sharing whatever it is you do. Thank you for doing it in the name of this show. It's greatly appreciated. Looking forward to coming back next week. We got Nick from Job for a Cowboy. That's another short conversation, but hopefully we will get into a little bit of longer one with him. But that was a good one. I'll see you all next week. Enjoy the rest of yours.